Awesome. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Adrian Dunn. I'm really happy to be here, particularly on the topic of music in the time of Black Lives Matter. And what does that mean? What does it mean when we do repertoire in a moment such as this that we are in? And so I'm looking forward to hearing you guys. We can go ahead and get started. If you could let me know what the name of the pieces you're singing, and a little bit about yourself, and go ahead and get started.
Hi, I'm Lauren Florek. I'll be singing on Monday from the musical 35 millimeters by Ron Scott Oliver. Um, and I'm a first year master's student at Longy. I have pretty much a classical background, and I've just started to explore musical theater and pop music recently. And so this is one of the first pieces I've started working on in contemporary musical theater. Right? Touch my speaker. On Monday, I met you. I liked you. I liked you. It's Monday, bad day, but good day for us. Good for us. You wouldn't let me kiss you, wouldn't let me kiss you, wouldn't let me kiss you. And that is why you were my kind of guy. Then Tuesday I called you, ignored me, straight voicemail. You texted back saying play hard to get, ready, set. You wouldn't let me see you, wouldn't let me see you, wouldn't let me see you. Got so depressed by your test, still I thought you're the best. 'Cause I've been so juvenile. 'Cause to take my time is just not my style. Come Wednesday, black coffee, pure talking, clean touching. Or Wednesday, hump day, but we just held hands. We held hands. You wouldn't let me take you, wouldn't let me take you, wouldn't let me take you away for the day you said I gotta stay. And I felt so juvenile. You gave an inch of time and I took a mile. I felt so juvenile. 'Cause to take it slow is just not my style. Then Thursday, like Tuesday, your day off from me. Friday busy and Saturday too. What's up with you? You don't wanna kiss me, you don't wanna see me, you don't wanna take me. So let me go. But you said, there's things I know. You are cute, but juvenile. Don't you know the greatest love takes the greatest while? So take my hand and take the trial for just a mile and then another mile. Be patient for that one day. Look, lover, it's Sunday. Come with me. I'll make it worth your while. Maybe it's not far away or coming down the aisle, but I wanna kiss you now. And kiss you, and kiss you, and kiss you, and kiss you, and kiss you till Monday.
Awesome. Cool, cool, cool. So, can you tell me a bit more about the song and what the song's about?
Yeah, sure. The musical itself, it doesn't really have a plot and characters. It's more an exhibition of photographs. So the song standalone, I would say, it's a girl, me, and she wants to move faster in this relationship with this other person, um, but that's not what they do. And I think there's a realization along the lines that maybe she realizes, oh, maybe I was moving too fast. Maybe I have been a little bit juvenile, but I think maybe I can wait for you and go at your pace. And that's
Gotcha.
how I interpreted it.
Gotcha. Okay. So, one of the things I'm curious about is on a scale to one from 1 to 10, what would you give your kind of that performance you just gave?
Mm, I could give it like a 6.
Why 6? I'm just curious.
I think I was just a little bit like I think from my performance aspect, I was just a little bit in my head, and I think I wasn't really, telling the story I just described. I think I was a little bit nervous and a little bit just like thinking too much.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's helpful. That's helpful. What was the name of the piece again that you just performed
It's called On Monday.
on Monday? And who's it by again?
Ryan Scott Oliver.
Gotcha. And you said this is kind of an exhibition, a song.
Yeah, it is. It's a musical, but it's one of those musicals that doesn't really have a story, and the pieces kind of stand alone.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, cool. So you were in your head, and so you said you gave yourself a 6, right? What else?
Yeah.
What else was another reason you gave yourself a 6?
I think I cracked once, and think I'm still trying to gain comfortability in my chest, and mix. And I feel like perhaps I'd done that better maybe another time.
Gotcha. Okay, so those are all some technical things as well. Um, as it relates to the subject of the class, music in the time of Black Lives Matter, I'm curious, why'd you pick this piece?
Um, I think I may have misread the class. I think I just read musical theater pop.
Gotcha.
I didn't realize we were supposed to make a connection, so I apologize for that.
No, no, no. I mean, you don't have to apologize. It's fine. I was just curious because, there are always, I think, in every piece that you perform, right? There are
Hmm.
there are justice narratives to be discovered, right? And so even
Sure.
if it may not seem like it's kind of this blaring, whatever, there's always somewhere to think about how the music itself relates to some type of justice narrative. And so even in your interpretation, as you talked about these types of things, obviously you said there isn't a plot, but there are all of these other pieces that the character goes through a range of emotions, right? And all of those range of emotions are connected to the bigger society we live in. And so sometimes finding whatever that narrative is, right, can be helpful, not just in terms of how you perform it, but thinking about, how it enhances your performance, right? Or to think about those sides of the character as well. Not just like, oh, girl meets boy, this happens, that happens, the end. But what happens along the way. And as I was saying earlier at the top of the class, you know, music in the time of Black Lives Matter, I think it should heighten all of our awareness, right? To even as we interpret characters, whatever color the characters are, right? To think about these different things in it. And so, in regards to some of the technical things you talked about, um, what's some ways that you can get out your head?
I mean, for me, I think I just really need to just really be invested in the story.
Be more invested in the story. Okay, cool. Is there anyone from the audience who can drop in the chat some ways that you might deal with, or might get out of your head sometimes when you're thinking about something too much? I think that's always good in master classes to also hear from folks. So if you can drop that in the chat, anybody, if you want to chime in. And so just give me real quick a quick rundown of what that thing, right? You say get out your head, you're going to focus more on the story and being committed to the story, right? Try to be more playful. That was one of the things in the chat. Another thing is find the character and her story, then be her. Okay, that was from Lindsay. Um, so again, I just want to kind of offer you those things. I'd love to take the song again from the top. I know it's a little long, but I
Yeah.
definitely think we can kind of get through at least the top of it again. Someone also
Mhm.
said, Ava said, I find engaging with your eyes is so helpful to translate a deeper message. Um, do something really silly beforehand. Was another recommendation. Do something really silly beforehand. That sounds like fun, to kind of help get your mind off of it, I guess, right? And get into it. So let's take some of that advice and let's try it again from the top, okay?
Okay. On Monday, I met you. I liked you. I liked you. It's Monday, bad day, but good day for us. Good for us. You wouldn't let me kiss you, wouldn't let me kiss you, wouldn't let me kiss you. And that is why you were my kind of guy. Then Tuesday I called you, ignored me straight voicemail. You texted back saying play hard to get, ready, set. You wouldn't let me take you, wouldn't let me see you, wouldn't let me see you. Got so depressed by your test, still I thought you're the best. Cause I've been so juvenile. Cause to take my time is just not my style. Come Wednesday, black coffee, pure talking, clean touching. Or Wednesday, hump day, but we just held hands. We held hands. You wouldn't let me see, you wouldn't let me take, you wouldn't let me take you away for the day. You said I gotta stay, and I felt so juvenile. You gave an inch of time, and I took a mile. I've been so juvenile, cause to take it slow is just not my style. Then Thursday, like Tuesday, your day off from me. And Friday busy and Saturday too. What's up with you? You don't wanna kiss me, you don't wanna see me, you don't wanna take me. So let me go. But you said, there's things I know. You are cute, but juvenile. while. And don't you know the greatest love takes the greatest while? Take my hand and take the trial for just a mile, and then another mile. Be patient for that one day. Look like it's Sunday. Come with me. I'll make it worth your while. Maybe it's not far away, coming down the aisle. But I wanna kiss you now. Oh, and kiss you, 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 and kiss you till Monday.
All right. Okay, cool. Can you hear me? Let's give it up, everybody. Go ahead and shake on your cameras if you can. Just show her some love. Yeah, 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 yeah. Good, 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 good. Awesome. That was great. Just a few things. So I heard you say you're a grad student at Laundry. Is that right? Were you a classical singer?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So as you think about your chest voice, right, and as you think about trying to bring that up, I hear when you get into your upper extension, it gets real. I feel that cover, right? That happens. I want you to think about in your practice, right? Not being afraid to, really play around with that, right? Because I feel like clearly you have the notes, but again, it's again how you execute those notes, right? In the style that makes it honest and authentic to that style, right? So as you go, even a lot of like the little runs and kind of little riffs that happen, always think about them being clean, but not just clean as in note, note, note clean, right? But clean in the regard that it really fits in what's germane to that style. You know what I mean? Um, and so play around with that in your practice, right? Don't be afraid to kind of go on up there and think about that sound being a bit more horizontal and a bit more wide as you get up high. Always supported, yes. Make sure you're always supported. But even as you're trying sometimes you may think in your practice to, I oftentimes with some students will say, take an octave, uh, uh, or right, and just go back and forth, kind of just yo-yo, right, on that octave as you go above your break, and to kind of sing right through it, right, and to give you that energy, that'll help you kind of bring that chest voice up higher, in a way that feels healthy. Yeah. Any other positive comments and feedback from those folks? You can drop them in the chat. I heard awesome. I heard your top is so free and easy. Um, that was awesome. Anybody else want to drop some comments and supportive comments in the chat? Gorgeous, beautiful transition to musical theater. It was very seamless. That was from Ava. Yeah. Uh, you obviously enjoy the song you sing. Awesome. You certainly have the option to do musical theater in addition to opera. You have the tone quality that works best for both. Um, awesome. Awesome. So I hope that was helpful to you. And beautiful voice, and keep going. Yeah. Keep going. Keep working at it. You definitely got it. And you'll definitely make that transition nice and smooth, I believe. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Beautiful. Congratulations, Lauren. That was wonderful. All right, so we have two volunteers. Ava, I believe. Yes. So Ava, you will go next, after which we will have Charlene. Okay, Ava, take the stage.
Okay, hello. My name is Ava Chenok. I am going into my senior year at Occidental College in Los Angeles, which is where I currently am. and I will be singing for you today kind of a slowed version of Frank Sinatra's Blue Moon. I usually sing, well, I'm a classical trained singer, but I love singing jazz, and I want to try to sing as much as I can in the future.
Absolutely.
Blue moon, you saw me standing alone, without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Blue moon, you knew just what I was there for. You heard me saying a prayer for someone I really could care for. And then there suddenly appeared before me the only one my arms will ever hold. I heard somebody whisper, please adore me. When I looked, the moon had turned to gold. Blue moon, now I'm no longer alone. I have a dream in my heart. I have a love of my own. Sweet ba-dee da 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 da, swatting-ga be ba da dee da da ba ba, ha wow wow. Sweet ba-dee da da, swing-ga-dee da dee da da, ba 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 ba, sweet ba-dee da be da da la da 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 wa ba ba ba, ha wow wow. Sweet, then there suddenly appeared before me the only one my arms will ever hold. I heard somebody whisper, please adore me. And when I looked, the moon had turned to gold. Blue moon, now I'm no longer alone. I have a dream in my heart. I have a love of my own. Blue moon, now I'm no longer alone. I have a dream in my heart. I have a love of my own. Blue moon.
Awesome. Let's give it up for everybody.
Thank you.
Awesome. So music in the time of Black Lives Matter. Tell me about, so just tell me about the song, the composer, you know, the basic rundown that we always go through, right?
Yeah, so I mean, this is such a classic. It's been covered by so many different people. Richard Rodgers is the composer, of course, such a prolific musical theater and jazz composer.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that this song has been covered by so many spectacular Black artists that I admire so much. Billie Holiday, Ella, I think Josephine Baker, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
And I just really appreciated how poignant and pertinent this song was, especially in regards to what's happening in the world currently, just like people feeling alone, people not feeling connected, people within their own self thinking about their own, like they're just within their own head. And I feel like that's such a representation of this song. And I think it translates so much into not just like personal mental wellness, but also social connection.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. What I was going to say was, in the context of music in the time of Black Lives Matter, I'm wondering about the connection to, in this moment that we're in, as you kind of just alluded to, what would it have meant for Ella Fitzgerald to sing this song? What would it have meant for the Black jazz vocalists, right? Many of them women at that time, right? To sing this repertoire, and who, not just who was allowed to sing it and who wasn't allowed to sing it, but how that shapes your interpretation of this repertoire at that time. You know what I mean? And I think that those pieces are really important to putting all the pieces together. Similarly, I talk a lot about justice in music and say that a lot of folks don't know that a lot of the bands, back in the day, like Led Zeppelin and the Stones and things like that, stole a lot of Black artist music back then, right? And not just in stealing lyrics and melody and things like that, but then also just the complete style itself, right? Without the actual attribution to where its origins were from and who were the creators of those genres, right? And so I'm raising that because these are through lines that help us in 2021, right? In making better choices about repertoire, about interpretation, about how it informs our choices, right? Is to get that full context of not just like what's happening now, but also connecting it. And this is a perfect example, as far as I'm concerned, right? As you just outlined, of the great voices, of the great jazz artists of modern, the modern era, right? And how that informs your choices and how that informs the things that you interpret in those influences. And so thank you for choosing this piece. I thought it was great. From a technical standpoint, I want you to think about, give me in a few words what the song is basically about. Give me in 3 words. If you have to boil it down, like what would the 3 big points be? You could expand that to short sentences if you really want.
Loneliness, hope, and maybe some kind of conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
In a way.
Loneliness, hope, and a conclusion.
Conclusion that leads to the future.
Okay. So some type of resolve or settled, or yeah, okay. I felt like your performance still gave me a lot of kind of gesture and kind of was very performative that way. And I wanted to see more of what you just said.
Totally.
I want to see those words come to life, in a way that, because of what this genre and performance practice, is calling for, is of course still a performance. But I want to hear that in your voice. I want to hear that in your tone. I want to hear that in the way in which you finesse and nuance the words, right? Yeah. Even in the same way in the scat section, right? I want to feel that those things move in a way that complements the music. It should feel, it should dance, you know, just in between those beats, you know, you know, whatever a syllable you use is fine. I just want to be sure that it feels like it's moving and it's this dance that's beautiful and it keeps going. It's like the dance never ends.
Fantastic way to think about it. And I thank you so much. Like, that's definitely going to help me for the future.
Perfect. And the last point I was going to make was, I know you said you're classically trained, right? Yeah. So I want you to, one thing about Western classical music vocal training is that some of those things, you know, they stick with us, right? They really stick with us. And so as you, I want you to kind of be free of some of that, just in general. I know it was a very general note, right?
No,
it was a very general mode, right?
I go with you.
Yeah, like go ahead and, you know, like in the Scat there's these moments where your voice just opens wide up, right? Do more of that.
Yeah.
You know, don't feel like it has to be in here. As you do your thing, like go ahead and just make that all come alive that way. And forget that we're here. Because again, one of the key cool things about Black music in the United States, and the reason why I'm referencing that is not because the composer is Black, but because of the genre itself and the influence. When I think about jazz as a genre period, right? How important is it to think about those principles of Black art aesthetics? Being free, going to the soul first. It's not a this first, right? It's this takes precedent, right? And this kind of genre, right? As opposed to executing everything perfectly. I want to hear your heart. I want your heart to sing through your voice. So let's take it from the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Standing alone without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Blue moon, you knew just what I was there for. You heard me sing a prayer for someone I really could care for. And then there suddenly appeared before me the only one my arms will ever hold. I heard somebody whisper, please adore me. When I looked, the moon had turned to gold.
Yeah, I think that was much better. I mean, the solo was much better, much more tempered. The rhythmic kind of interplay was great. There was a lot more heart, says Charlene. Absolutely. Um, love that. Go to the soul first. Okay, cool. So I think you did get a little bit closer, right, to that part. How do you feel? How did it feel?
It felt really nice. I know that I've like gotten into a mode before when I'm singing this song where I'm like in the zone and I'm just like feeling it. Um, and I definitely felt that a lot more with this performance. And so I really appreciate your guidance in terms of like where your mind should go in the beginning of it. Um, and I definitely am super aware of the influence that the Black artists of this genre have on this, just like the basis of style. And so it's important to me to represent that style while not being appropriative, because I just like, it's just thinking about being within the style and not seizing things that are not for you.
There you go. And I mean, I'm glad you raised that because I think oftentimes in classical music, race is something that's just not talked about.
Exactly.
And what's sad about that is that what history is there to tell about America and her past without with skipping over 400 years
Basis of like
yeah,
most American music, if not all.
exactly. Like, and when people, I say oftentimes, American music is Black music, whether folks realize it or not, you know, one way or another, and what I mean is more specifically, for folks who may be curious what I mean, I mean that the attribution of the creators of so many genres, rock, hip hop, R&B, blues, jazz, on down to genres that we sometimes don't even think about, like barbershop, things that we don't think about oftentimes, like the instruments that we use, like banjo being connected to Africa, and where those instruments and traditions and things like call and response come from Black folks, things like, and so what I'm raising this is that, oftentimes I think in America, we think of race in music as being something we read about in a history book that has nothing to do with us right now. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And so thank you for raising that, and raising the just honest truth is that white folks in America sing a lot of Black music, and that there's a history that does not honor the folks who created this thing. And we have an opportunity to do it better and to rectify those things. I think oftentimes that framework, and the reason I'm talking to you is because you're the first person who sang a song that kind of like fits into that framework. But just saying, I think oftentimes we struggle to have these forward conversations about what role does allyship, or for those who consider themselves allies, everybody doesn't consider themselves ally. Everybody is not an ally. It is what it is. But I'm making the point that for those who do, and for folks who care, to do better, and to be a part of an industry that is making better strides, to be honest, to be authentic, and then to do something about it, right? It's not just enough to acknowledge the problem exists. It has to be more than enough, and it's incumbent upon all of us not to continue to adopt that kind of bystander behavior, because previous generations of white composers, white artists, white, et cetera, you then begin to just live into what came before you, right? I mean, even with me as a young Black singer in college, and learning from teachers, who I never had a Black voice teacher, in my life. And so they're not just certain experiences, but they're also things that, shaped my perception of voice and what should be and what is good music and what's not good music and where things came from. And so rectifying the beginning or the genesis is something we all have to do in order to have a shot at making a better future in this industry. And it's more than just how well you sing. It's more than that. It's more than just the performance. It's the artistic integrity, you know what I mean, that we have when we open our mouths and sing, right? To say like, this is actually who wrote it. This might have been whose name is on it, but this is actually where it comes from, right? And you can acknowledge both, right? You can acknowledge both. And it's something I think is incumbent upon all of us. Any Elvis, Buddy Holly, I see some folks were in the chat as I was talking. Any other feedback? I thought that second time was gorgeous, but I just wanted to just engage this dialogue for a moment because there aren't a lot of spaces where we can.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. It is so important to me going forward to be intersectional and to be intentional in how I am both approaching music in study and in rehearsal, but also in performance, and talking about those kinds of intersections and issues and oppression that has happened over the years within a performance space, because that's what an audience is going to hear. They're not going to hear you in your room when you're playing your piano and thinking about certain things. You need to be forward and you need to present this information as professional and real and factual.
Yeah. And I tell one of my very good white friends, he says to me all the time, he's always like, Adrian, what should I do? I say, use your privilege for good. Use the power you have for good. You know what I mean? When we know, for example, that the greatest jazz singers that we know were Black folks. To this day, my favorite singers, jazz singers, Jasmine Horn, hands down. I think about Cecilia McLaurin Savant, hands down. You can just kind of go down the list here, right? And in contemporary music, when we think about folks like Whitney Houston, we think about the younger generations of folks like Brandy, Jasmine Sullivan, just kind of down the line, right? And that those very genres, Layla Hathaway, that those very genres were created for, R&B was created for Black folks. Those were race records, right? Like even when we talk about genre, it's baked in the cake, right? Of the conversation, just picking a genre, right? And so for us at this moment that we're in history, to be able to call those things what they really are, because we know better now. We've learned, I hope we've learned. I hope we're continuing to learn that, a lot of these things are by design. They're not by accident. They're how the system was set up to operate, So I want to thank you for that. Any other comments? Anybody have any other comments? Go ahead, feel free to drop them in the chat.
Wonderful, Ava. Thank you. Congratulations. That was beautiful. Oh, so beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Adrian, okay, we have our next singer, Charlene. Okay. Hi. And Charlene will be our last singer for this session. Hopefully afterwards we can have some questions from our audience. It would be nice if we could have a Q&A after this. Okay.
Cool.
I am turning up the mic volume just for the speaking part. Don't worry, I'll turn it down before the singing. Sorry. I will be singing Kurt Weill's Yukali, which is a song in the French language. Kurt Weill was a composer during, he was an adult as World War II started happening. He had left Germany. So Yukali is about a woman who, this is an opera that I don't think ever actually made it to this stage, but this woman is left behind she's left behind by the boat, and she finds out that her lover has left as well, and so she starts to sing about this place called Yukali that's not real. But in Yukali, all your worries are gone. Everyone loves one another, and all is peaceful. C'est presque au bout du monde. Sorry. I forgot the mic. C'est presque au bout du monde. Ma barque vagabonde errante au gré de l'onde me conduisit un jour. L'île est toute petite, mais la fée qui l'habite gentiment nous invite à en faire le tour. Yukali, c'est le pays de nos désirs. Yukali, c'est le bonheur, c'est le plaisir. Yukali, c'est le terreau où l'on quitte tous les soucis. C'est dans notre nuit, comme une éclaircie, l'étoile qu'on suit. C'est Yukali, Yukali, c'est le pays de beaux amours j'entavais. Yukali, c'est le pays de beaux amours partagés. C'est l'espérance qui est au cœur de tous les humains. La délivrance que nous attendons tous pour demain. Yukali, c'est le pays de nos désirs. Yukali, c'est le bonheur, c'est le plaisir. Mais c'est un rêve, une folie. Il n'y a pas de Yukali. Mais c'est un rêve, une folie. Il n'y a pas de Yukali. Et la vie nous entraîne, la sorte quotidienne, mais la pauvre âme humaine, cherchant partout l'oubli, a pour quitter la terre, se trouve le mystère, où nos rêves se terrent en quelques Yukali. Yukali, c'est le pays de nos désirs. Yukali, c'est le bonheur, c'est le plaisir. Yukali, c'est le terreau où l'on quitte tous les soucis. C'est dans notre nuit, comme une éclaircie, l'étoile qu'on suit. C'est Yukali, Yukali, c'est le respect de tous les mots échangés. Yukali, c'est le pays des beaux amours partagés. C'est l'espérance qui est au cœur de tous les humains. La délivrance que nous attendons tous pour demain. C'est le pays de nos désirs. C'est le bonheur, c'est le plaisir. Mais c'est un rêve, une folie. Il n'y a pas de Yucali. Mais c'est un rêve, une folie. Il n'y a pas de
So I know that was quite long. I didn't realize the song was that long. From the beginning. No, it's fine. It's fine. Cool. So you said it's from an opera that was not performed, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I think generally the song sounds good in your voice, yes? I think it sits well. How do you feel when you're singing it?
Most of it sits pretty low, which is great for me. Once it gets to the high bits, it's something that I'm working on constantly. Something I really like about this song is everything that's really hopeful, like all of the verse where she talks about how Yukali is basically paradise. That's all in the minor key, and then in the major key is when she said une folie, but it's a folly, it's a fantasy. Yukali doesn't actually exist. I'm starting a tangent, but when you were mentioning like how does music in the time of Black Lives Matter, it's like, where are the songs that you can really talk about not just justice in terms of what's going on racially, but class, the anti-Semitism that is emerging again, and Yukali is just, you know, we're trying to find Yukali.
Gotcha. Absolutely. So I appreciate, you taking us through your own discourse in your mind about like how you process those things. I think that's great. And I think that's absolutely, along the lines of what we're talking about today, right? Or the subject of the class is like, how many levels, what other ways, there will always be some element that exists there, even if it's not in the particular song or discussed in the particular song, right? We know that it's there. There's going to be some justice element, as you said, class, or, other things, as well as how that piece fits into the larger arc of history, right? And so even if, like I was saying, the plot itself may not be about, a justice topic or about race or whatever, this moment, I think, calls us to reconsider everything, and to really, reconsider how this song falls into that bigger arc of history as well. But good song. I want to open up to any comments from folks here. What comments do you guys have? I saw a brava. The song suits your voice so well. What else? Folks who are here. Any other comments? Things. Let's see. Good French pronunciation. Absolutely. Ava says, I love your French. You really embrace the French. Absolutely. Yeah, it seemed like you're really there, right, with the language. Absolutely. That's great. Awesome. Do you have any questions for me?
I do.
Sure.
So in the world of opera, like the first classical singer that I actually watched was Larry Brownlee at Stanford. He did, it wasn't a show, it was what do you call those? Gosh, my brain is just a recital
Yeah.
of individual pieces. And so it's like I have a few names that ring in my head of Black artists in the opera world who are actually like out there doing the work. But it's like there's not a lot, which is not surprising in a lot of spaces, right? Especially with opera, a lot of the patronage is old white people. And so we're singing the same operas. We're still singing Mozart. We're still singing, which is amazing. Like they're all beautiful. I'm sorry. I had a question and I'm just gonna. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
Let's just go into the choral scene. My choir does not have a single Black person in it, and when all of this started, our choir director started taking out the repertoire that was gospel or African American music, and it was really disheartening because it was like, wait, aren't we supposed to be singing these things? Aren't we supposed to be sharing it? And I found that more of it was the fear. How would you deal with helping people, or like what is your thought on that, of the fear outweighing the need to share the art, the fear to not be labeled as inappropriate?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a complex question for a number of reasons. And my view isn't everybody's view, but it's just mine. I think that unfortunately, in this moment, I think we have a lot of folks who have not done the work. And so to do in America, the tradition that we have of taking Black music and doing with it what we will, without honoring its legacy, doing the research to do it well, respecting that, and then also teaching that respect to the people we teach this music to. I think it's disrespectful. I think it's absolutely disrespectful. I think it's unacceptable, and so I don't necessarily know that, again, because it's not just what the music is and it's really, and who should do it. It's also, who does the music belong to? Who are the people who have, put in place, the standards around what that music should sound like. And in the year we're in right now, there's no possible way that the excuse is that I don't know, or I'm not uneducated about how to perform these genres, when you can call folks, you can email folks, you can Facebook Messenger folks, if you are lacking skills or expertise in these particular areas, you know what I mean? And so in a regular world, I would say, yeah, I would hope that people would, but I don't hope that choirs just do music by Black composers because they feel like it is theirs when it is not. You know what I mean? And feeling like people can just, do things however they do them, and it be, again, the spiritual and the choral world at the end of the concert, or the gospel song that is supposed to be like the show ender, disrespectful. This music, again, deserves more respect than those canonic composers you just mentioned, as far as I'm concerned, right? And so I think that that's important. I think it's also a good segue to our conversation, to our Q&A time. I know I'm out of time. I apologize, but I did want to segue, if that's okay, to our question and answer period. If you guys had any other comments for, go ahead and drop them in the chat. And as I said, I think that's a great segue to our Q&A section. I'll go ahead. You can drop in the chat, or
we unmute and ask, or are we dropping in the chat?
Just put your name in the chat, and then I'll call your name. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I had a thought that I wanted to finish. I'm sorry. The core world question. Again, I think sometimes that we can see things in a very micro way, or we can look at them from a macro type of way, right? It's the difference in saying, is the composer of this piece, like with the previous, is the composer of this piece, black or white? I was like, okay, they're white, I don't care. I'm just gonna do how, you know what I mean? Or the macro piece that's looking at the bigger conversation and the bigger historical significance. The same way in the choral world. In the choral world, there's a lot of layers to pull back. There just is, and there's no other way to put it, because institutionally, choral conductors are trained on the canon, are trained on Western European music through and through, from music theory to language, to the French, German, and Italian composers, but we somehow skipped over every other language that it was not, a Western European language, in the repertoire. That's not on accident, you know what I mean? And in America, I think it is definitely kind of in a more egregious thing, because this all happened here on this land in our lifetimes. For many of us, not, when a lot of these songs were written, but even it continues in our lifetime is what I mean. The appropriation of Black music and choral music, I think, is just insanity, and not just Black music in the United States, but also Black music from around the world as well. That we do not give credit to what cultures and what folks who are the culture bearers of that music, And so I guess I'm saying it's complex, because it's not like, oh, throw the music away or do it. I don't know that that's really the question. I think the bigger question is, what role are folks who are at the helm of these organizations, like, at the top of organizations, what role do you want to play in making this a better place, in a more equitable space? And how do we also call out our colleagues in ways that is appropriate when these things are wrong? And when these things continue to happen in collegiate level, high school level, elementary school level choir, when it's happening in college level education as well, that we're continuing to teach that same book of composers and repertoire the same way it's been taught for the past 100 years. Something's got to give, right? I hope I'm not out of time. Am I out of time? Let me ask first, because I like to talk.
We're a little over time, but we can take a minute or two.
All right, Ava, I saw Ava. I'll take some real quick, and then also Paula. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this conversation is very relevant to what I have been experiencing at I go to Occidental, which is a predominantly white institution. I am part of the Glee Club. I grew up my whole life in choirs. I've experienced this horrible, egregious misinterpretation and just like slapping on of like gospel music or spiritual music just for like diversity or something like that. Like these choral directors really have it in their head. I don't know. But when I was in the Glee Club this year, our director brought forth some civil rights music, and it was kind of it was an interesting and complex conversation, because some students in the class, white students, were uncomfortable with singing this music because of all of this history and wanting to not be appropriative, wanting to be respectful. And the Black students in the choir actually wanted to engage with this music and bring it forth to other students. And so it was a learning and working process. And we did research and we had conversations. And I don't know, I still am not sure. And it's not my place to say anything in this like respect, but I think it's a very complex situation, and I really appreciate your insight on this because I've been thinking about it and grappling with it for like years now.
Absolutely. And it's time to talk about it. You know, it's been time. It's overtime for raising these issues. And I'm grateful to students who raise these issues to their teachers and say, no, maybe this isn't the best thing, right? Because when you call the question, it gives people the opportunity, right, to at least think about what happens next and to think about the choices we make, you know, and think who it honors. And the people in the group do matter. When there are Black folks singing in the choir, it does matter. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there's so many factors, as you just said. It's not just this or this. I know that feels easy, but it's more complex than that, for sure. I know that I've got to run. I know Paula had a question, but if you can also email me. I can put my email in the chat. Also, if anybody wants to reach out to me, please feel free to reach out to me. A little bit about myself. If you don't know me, I'm a professor at Roosevelt University in Chicago. I'm the founder of the advocacy movement Black Music Matters. And I'm also the founder of the Adrian Dunn Singers and the Rise Orchestra here in Chicago, Black professional choral group here in Chicago, as well as the all Black professional orchestra, my Rise Orchestra. And so I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I also have a performance coming up. Here's my shameless plug. On the 29th of June, I'm making my conducting debut with the Chicago Philharmonic Orchestra, who will be doing my work of Spirituals Redemption, which is a collection of spirituals and gospel songs, all written and composed by me, dedicated to Black men and women murdered by police. And so if you don't have it, you can definitely grab it. It's on iTunes, and it's also on all digital distribution. But that concert will be streaming June 29th at Harris Theater Virtual Stage as well. And so thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to also just drop this. Oh, I'm so slow. I'm trying to get my fingers to work. And every time I go to type in my address, I forget and I start talking about something else. I'm sorry. I think that's my address. Okay. All right, cool. Y'all see that? Oh, I misspelled my first name. Oh my gosh. It's Adrian. I'm so sorry.
Okay, wonderful. So everyone, go ahead and copy and paste that address before we end. I think this was a lovely session. It was enlightening, and it was a good free space to speak your thoughts and feelings. Really appreciate this, Adrian Dunn. This was wonderful. All right, everyone, please continue to enjoy this convention. Here ends another session. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was really wonderful to